right in it.
Yeah, yep.
Oh, thou shalt not.
Thou shalt not murder. So, very good article.
Didn't God tell the Israelites to count the men 20 years old and older? So they're the ones that would be ready for war.
Mhm.
So that means, yeah, that's the military.
A lot of stuff happened in chapter 1, and we haven't even heard of Moses yet.
He's coming.
Now he's coming. So what do we know about Moses in chapter 2?
Well, he's
Fine child.
he was from the Levi tribe.
Yep, so he was a priestly.
Hey,
from
that's
the tribe of the
right.
priests.
The Levites were the priests.
Yep. And the word that was used to describe Moses is the same word that was used in Genesis when God said what he created was good. So it was intended to describe Moses as really, really special. A really special child. And once again, that's something we miss in our English translations, is the connection between the different words that are used.
Well, yeah, 'cause she says when she saw that he was a fine child, what made her notice that he was a fine
Yeah,
child?
so in this case, in the Hebrew, he was as good as God's creation was good.
But he was only 3 months old.
She hid him for 3 months.
You hid him for 3 months.
Well, yeah, and she saw that he was a fine child right from birth.
Okay.
And that's usually how you feel about your kids anyway,
Right, I was just gonna
Right,
say,
yeah.
oh, they're
Say,
adorable,
yeah.
yeah.
And when you take the baby to the store and you get those compliments, how do you feel?
Yay.
Fine
Look what I
baby.
did.
Well, she would probably say he wasn't hairy.
He wasn't red and hairy. I remember taking Betsy to the store and, oh boy, the compliments.
You always wanted to go shopping with
Oh,
her
heck
then, yeah.
yes.
It was great.
Yes. So, yeah, he was a fine child, and she hid him for 3 months.
Which is a long time.
Yep.
Crying and,
I was wondering how she could have hid him for 3 months.
Mhm.
She had to have help.
Well, maybe they didn't have any Egyptians in their household, so at 3 months, it's kind of hard to tell if it's a baby boy or a baby girl, so
oh, that's right.
it's still kind of tough.
And I bet they didn't do pink and blue like we do.
Yeah, probably
I was thinking they probably didn't even have any clothing on them, so that would
Maybe,
be.
yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, they had those blankets that had their.
Yeah.
Swaddling clothes,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so he was a special child from birth. And he was a Levite, so he was from the priestly tribe. So the mom can't hide him anymore, so she puts him in a papyrus basket. Gonna float him away.
Kind of like the ark.
Exactly. The word used in the Hebrew is ark. So what God wanted to show us is that just like the ark saved lives, this little boat that his mom put in was going to save his life. Because the same term was used, ark.
So you think God probably told her what to do, because how could you put your child, not knowing what's going to happen?
Well, sister watched.
Yeah, but just to go through those steps, so who's going to pick up this child?
Probably had to have a test run to see how the current took it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it didn't sink.
That she coated the basket with tar and pitch, just like
Just like the ark.
Noah did the ark.
Yep.
Hmm.
She followed the instructions of the ark to make sure that it would float.
She was very brave. What's her name? Do we get her name ever?
Well, we do later,
Okay.
we're told. I don't think I put that in
Mammoth?
the
No,
notes.
Miriam.
No,
Oh, the
Miriam's her
sister's
sister.
Miriam.
Yeah.
Right, the mother though.
Yeah, we find out later in Exodus.
Moses, they said your mother so-and-so died. Okay.
Let's see.
What if that's the only son she had?
No, she had Aaron also.
Oh,
Yeah.
but Aaron was
Well, that's
older?
right. But she didn't have to hide him?
Well, he was older at the time.
Oh, he was
He was
older.
born before Pharaoh's
Okay.
edict, so Pharaoh let those boys live.
Okay.
Why?
Because he was nuts.
Crazy Pharaoh. Crazy Pharaoh. Let's see, 2:5, verse 5.
Pharaoh's daughter.
Mhm. Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe. Now, you'd think the Nile would be kind of bad with all those dead babies in it, but that's where they went to go bathe.
It was running water, it wasn't stagnant.
Unless they got caught in reeds, but we won't think about that.
Well, the reeds purified it too.
I would like to have to go down to the Edwards to take your bath.
Well, you get rinsed pretty fast, at least now.
Yeah.
Don't you share that with cows and?
And in verse 5,
I guess.
we're told that she saw the basket among the reeds. And reeds is the same Hebrew word that was used in Exodus 13:18 when they talked about the Sea of Reeds, what we know as the Red Sea. So what God wants us to know here is that Moses was going to be saved through this reed sea, just like he was going to save the rest of the Israelites in the Exodus. So that's in verse 5. Miriam's watching, and the Bible tells us she's 15 years old at the time, so she's old enough to watch. And some commentaries even said that one of the midwives was Miriam, but I couldn't find any proof for that, so I didn't put that in notes.
Did it show her name and that she was 15? Is that
That
wasn't in my reading.
Let's see.
That was
I
in
found it out later.
a commentary you
in one of
said.
the commentaries.
I thought it was kind of strange in verse 6, she opened it and saw the baby, he was crying. She didn't say she opened it and heard the baby crying.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
She
Semantics.
says she saw the child and he was crying.
Yeah.
Well, she said this is one of the Hebrew
Children
babies,
saw
so
the
she
baby,
knew.
period. He was crying.
Maybe the river made
Yeah,
it much noise. Should,
What's that?
maybe I was putting a comma in where it shouldn't have been.
No, because
She opened it and saw the baby.
Yeah.
He was crying. No, you're right.
maybe he cried when she opened it.
He was sleeping, the sun was in his eyes.
Yeah.
You've probably been trained not to cry much.
Well, that's possible too.
In 3 months,
I can't tell that.
Very much training.
I couldn't train mine not to cry.
Me neither.
A car ride, that would
Yeah,
do it.
that would do it.
So maybe the water sloshing kind of,
Could be rocked him to
yeah,
sleep.
yeah.
So his sister Miriam, she's right there on the spot. She says, should I get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? And of course, since the princess didn't have a baby, she has no milk, she's got to find somebody to nurse. So Moses gets to go back to his mother for another period of years. So that had to be a pretty happy reunion.
That's too bad.
Did he stay in the Pharaoh's house, or did Moses go back?
I think, right, in verse 10, that gives me the impression that Moses stayed with the mother, and that would probably make it easier, because the Egyptians probably wouldn't want a Hebrew in their house to nurse the baby.
Well, the only other thing is, wouldn't she be afraid that her dad would come and want to kill the baby
She
though?
didn't care. And she's a princess, so maybe she got whatever she wanted.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But maybe she was daddy's girl, so she
She
got
was a
whatever
princess.
wanted.
Yeah.
And she named Moses. I drew him out of the water. So he gets older. His birth mom gives him back to Pharaoh's daughter, and she adopted him. The Pharaoh's daughter adopted him.
Well, they skip a lot from what the Ten Commandments show on TV.
Well, you got that
Yeah,
right.
That Cecil B. DeMille added a little bit of extra.
he added a lot.
He was a storyteller.
Yeah.
He added a lot.
It's kind of sad on this one handout, they got Moses says Charlton Heston.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Oh,
Well,
no.
he was good in the role.
Yes, it was.
One time my daughter, when that movie was on, and she was about 5th grade, and they had a test in history,
Oh, no.
and it was about the Exodus,
Yeah.
when I guess they could still talk about the Bible. And anyway, she wrote Charlton Heston, and the teacher got a big kick out of it.
Instead of Moses,
Oh, or she wrote in her paper.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Charlton Heston freed the slaves.
Oh, dear.
I don't know, I don't remember what kind of grade she
Sometimes you get extra points for that.
Yeah.
Good movie review.
Yep. And so you think about it, we have, let's see, we have Moses' mom, who is a heroine for saving her baby. You've got Miriam, his sister, who watched over him, and he'd be saved, and then he brought Moses back to his mom. You have the princess, who's an Egyptian, she's a hero, and the 2 midwives. So 5 women in the first 3 chapters are the only heroes here.
Watching out for that baby.
Taking care of the baby, preserving life. So that tells you a lot about the Bible and how it elevates women to a good status. So, because it always bugs me.
Well, none of you men would be here if it wasn't for women.
That's right, that's right. There's this thing called liberation theology or feminist theology. And they say that the Bible is too patriarchal. It's like, how can you miss all these prominent women in the Bible? But people gotta be upset.
They haven't read it, that's right.
Oh,
Sally's
there you
right.
go, they haven't read it.
Even
Well,
though they weren't counted.
hopefully they would, because they're supposed to be theologians.
Oh, okay.
They're
So-
still,
But yeah, so the only 5 heroes are all women, so it's pretty cool.
I have a question.
Yeah,
When he was talking about Moses, and then him being found by the princess, how long of a time period do you think he was in the water? And then my second question is, when he came back, do you think it was like all within the same day back to his mom, or did the princess have him for a while?
I think, well, first question, who knows? We don't know how long he was in the water. Could have been immediately. Maybe Miriam watched where, no, Miriam wouldn't have watched where people were because she would have been worried too much about the Egyptians. So it's hard to say. It could have been a couple days.
maybe that's why he was sleeping.
I think so, but the baby would
He would have been
He
crying.
would have
Yeah.
starved death and
Yeah.
cried.
Yeah.
No,
I bet they
Put him there that
watched
morning
it
and
when
watched
they
the
saw
news.
her bathing. They had it planned upstream,
Yeah.
send that basket up.
Yeah, that would be my guess
That's
too.
But-
my,
but
that's
no-
my assumption.
Know that they wouldn't know how the Egyptian princess was gonna act though.
Right.
Because they didn't know that she was so good or that she wanted a baby. So the whole thing was risky.
A little faith in there,
A
huh?
lot of faith, a lot of
But
faith.
you see, that's just
But
it. She had the faith. That's why Moses was put in the Nile in the first place.
Yeah.
So I think that they probably did know that he was gonna be safe. Yeah, he would have been crying. He would have been in there for too long. He would have been.
Yeah.
But where else would it have been? They couldn't have gone anywhere else with him, he would have been killed.
Right,
So they figured, let's just try it,
yeah.
see what
That was
happens.
the best option for them,
Mhm.
the only option. Now, as for when he went back to his mom, immediately. Because Miriam saw the princess pick up the baby, she went immediately to the princess. Maybe to save Moses if she had to, and then she came up with the bright idea, well, do you need someone to feed the baby? So Moses went right away to his mom when he was found. So good question.
So like Jesus was taken to Egypt to escape, and Moses floated in the river to escape.
Yeah.
You can almost understand.
The Bible always ties it up.
Not
He turned into
have your
the
breath empty.
princess when he was older, So I assumed it probably stayed with his mother until he was
Every
weaned.
few
Yeah.
hours.
Yep.
Mhm.
Goes in.
But I called him a boy, would your Bible say boy, not baby?
She took him as her son.
When he grew older, she
When
took
boy-
him to Pharaoh's
when
daughter,
boy grew
and he
older.
became her son, not the baby became her son. So they would need the wet nurse, the mother, to nurse him until he was weaned back then. So depends on how old the child was when they weaned him.
Mhm.
So what's important, like what, the 8 days that the circumcised? What is it mentioned here?
No, it wasn't.
Well, he probably was circumcised
Yeah.
I
already.
think he probably was
Because,
too. He was 3 months old.
he was 3 months old.
Mhm.
Oh,
And the
So-
princess knew that he was a Hebrew baby.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
She
exactly.
guessed, yeah, right away that.
Well, because Cecil B. DeMille said the Hebrew blanket was in there with him.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah,
That's
so-
how
She
they
gave
do
it to her
Wow.
servant and said, burn it or bury it, and she didn't. She
Yeah.
kept it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
according to
No,
Cecil.
We've got to throw all that out.
But we grew up in that, and that thing is what, 50,
Right.
60 years old,
Yeah.
70? I mean, it's an
And-
old
And
film.
we had to know it was false because Edward G. Robinson was the slave
I
master.
know. That's your favorite part.
Where's your Moses now?
Yeah, that's,
He was such a nasty little guy.
we never make it to that part because we always have church the next day. It's too late.
All right, so he gets named, he gets adopted,
He grows up.
he grows up, and then one day, after Moses is grown up, he went out to where his people were.
Well, but he didn't know he was Hebrew.
Ah, didn't he?
I think he did.
I think he did.
I think he did.
Oh, because he said one of his own people. Ah,
In,
chair.
Rabbi Daniel Lappin tells us in 1 Chronicles, chapter 4, verse 18, this is in the notes, so you guys don't have to look it up. We find a woman named Bithia, which becomes Bithia, daughter of Pharaoh. The name Bithia, which is a Hebrew name, translates as daughter of God. And ancient Jewish wisdom tells us that God called her by that name, saying, "You called Moses your son, though he was not. I will call you my daughter, though you are not." So later in life, this Egyptian princess married a Hebrew,
Oh,
and she converted to the Jewish faith, or whatever it was at that time. So that's how she got her name. So she had a love for Moses and a love for the people. That's probably another reason why she disobeyed her father. Well, her father, yeah, who we know is her father, the Pharaoh.
another parallel with Jesus. Jesus from 12 to 30 had no background, and all of a sudden Moses grew up.
Yeah. Because the Bible tells us what's important.
The story was written.
Pardon?
First Chronicles.
1 Chronicles, chapter 4, verse 18. So Moses is out walking around. His adopted mother told him he was a Hebrew, and he must have felt like a Hebrew. He must have had all the feelings and all the feelings for his people. Because he walks right by all the construction. Sorry, Nicholas. Okay. Okay. So he forgets about all the construction. All he can see is an Egyptian beating the Hebrew, one of his own people.
turn your phone off, hon. He's going by the window.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he probably thinks what's going on at church. That's what he does, so.
He'll just have to come in, and I'll tell him we're in Bible study. Okay, let's see, where were we?
He had a fight.
Okay, he had a fight.
Egyptians beating the Hebrew.
Yep, Egyptians beating the Hebrew. And in the Hebrew, the word for beating and killed is the same word. They used smite. So Moses didn't know he was going to kill the Hebrew. He was just beating him like the Egyptian was beating the Hebrew slave, and he just happened to die.
So his anger came out, kind of like,
He had a bad heart because he didn't get exercise.
Yeah, could be. So, it wasn't premeditated, but it was righteous anger that Moses had. And he hides the Egyptian in the sand.
First he looks around to see if anybody saw him.
It's a lot of digging.
Well, it's like beach sand,
Okay.
yeah? So, not too
Because
bad.
he did that before
Desert
he killed
sand's
him.
pretty soft.
To me, that's kind of
Well, that is kind of,
premeditated.
it is a little bit, yeah.
What's that?
Well, it says that he looked to see if the coast was clear before he killed
Okay,
him.
well, there you go.
Wow.
Yeah, he looked this way and that and see no one, he killed the Egyptian.
He didn't want to get caught.
But
Yeah.
he did get caught. That's the kicker.
Always someone looking.
That's right. Too bad-
Always somebody got their phone out.
That's right. I was gonna say the cell phone thing. You gotta be careful.
Yeah, yeah.
You're right.
That just got recorded too.
Yay.
That's all right. So, so he gets rid of the Egyptian, and then he sees two Hebrews fighting, and he doesn't want that to happen, because he wants them to all be united. But the Hebrew that was beating the other guy takes it wrong, and says, "What, you are judge here?" And then Moses became afraid, and he figured,
Telling us that he killed the Egyptians.
I'm gonna get caught.
Question,
Well,
did
yes.
the others there that were fighting, and the one that was getting beaten, Hebrews know Moses was a
It's
Hebrew?
right here.
Probably
Who
not.
made you a
They thought he was an
priest?
Egyptian?
Thought he was an
Yeah.
Egyptian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
He'd have been
because
Interesting.
he's got the fancy clothes on, he's
What's
got
there to say
the,
they wouldn't know that he was one of them
Right.
if he was,
yeah, so it's weird that they're mouthing back to him.
yeah.
But maybe they figured, what do I got to lose? You know?
Well, isn't there a rumor that he was somebody special that, oh, well,
I mean, because he's.
that could be the movie again coming back into me. I'm sorry. I forget.
He's living in the palace, he looks like an Egyptian, he smells like an Egyptian, he must be an Egyptian.
Okay.
But here's what I thought was interesting. When Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to kill Moses. Once again, nothing like the movie.
No.
But Pharaoh knows Moses is a Hebrew.
He does?
From his daughter.
Because his daughter brought him in.